All right, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the bi-weekly webinar. It's great to see you all again. It's been a while, and I love saying that because I know you can't. But at any rate, 2 days from now is Good Friday, whether you celebrate or not. That's coming up. Easter Sunday is coming up as well. So, of course, all the flowers are blooming. Our crocuses have come out. It's nice to see all over the place. Today is 65 and super humid, which is outstanding as well. So I guess my go big today is family, holidays, my team, and the Thrivers group that I was in Monday through Wednesday last week. So with that, there's some really interesting pieces that we looked at, and I'm going to bring a couple up today. Some of the ideas that I really wanted to lead with were some of the learning that I have. So maybe if I look today, we've talked about trust and inspire. I've talked about it for about a month. The book came out on the 5th of April. So it's Stephen M.R. Covey. That's the son of Stephen Covey. It's interesting, a great book. We got to spend time with 3 people who are really trust and inspire leaders. And then Stephen had his book launched as well just recently. So it's been outstanding. But as I look at it, trust and inspire is probably going to be my focus for the day. And there's so many different things. I came back from our convergence that we had in Scottsdale for a couple of days. Didn't get to see the sun really, except for maybe 10 total minutes, but it was well worth the time spent and really becoming a better human. I'll talk more about that in a bit. But with going big, why don't I pass it over to Ken?
Oh, good morning, everybody. Great to be here with you all as usual. My go big is for the team. You know, we talked to you about, empowered wealth and traditions and things that keep families together. We talk a lot about that. We also focus that on the inside here at Gentian as well. We have something called the Gentian Masters Tournament tradition. And we've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now. And what it is it's around the Masters golf tournament. And you get to pick 3 players, and the most who are under for the tournament win the trophy. Angie Zilka on our team was the 2021 champ. She passed it over to our very own Chris Doty this year, who won it. So again, there's a trophy in here. It brings us together as a team to help you guys overall. But again, we try to focus on those traditions, and I'm really grateful that we have traditions inside of our firm like that as well. So.
Well, thank you, Ken. I really appreciate that. And my acceptance speech will happen sometime later today. We'll record it and live stream it as well. I think it's going to be a big news conference. ESPN will probably cover it too, but thank you.
I would think so. Yeah, right.
Luck happens. Thanks. How about Zach? How about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I'm extremely grateful today for connections and community. I've always been blessed with incredible people in my life in all facets. But some of you know, I joined a few workout classes downtown, and the connections that have come from that have been incredible and inspiring. And last Saturday, we did a Climb for Autism event in the 3rd Ward. So I'm the Versa Climber. It's a very tough workout, but we did it as a team and raise money for autism. And it was just great to be around growth-minded people, but also combining my love for fitness with my love for service for others as well. So extremely grateful for connections and community today.
Outstanding, Zach. I appreciate that as well. So let me do a couple of things. We always talk about trust and inspire, and trust can get kind of heavy. It can talk about who's trustworthy. Am I trustworthy? 2 people can be very trustworthy, but there can be no trust between them. Well, why is that? Because trust needs to be extended. Now I have a question for you. How many people does it take to extend trust? 1. You're absolutely correct. I saw some of your hands go up. You actually gave the answer, which is great. It is just 1. So the key I look at is, how come we don't trust sometimes? I asked you a question a few times ago, who trusted you and inspired you, and what difference did that make? And that's really interesting to take a look at is some of those ideas. But trust is pretty heavy, but I've kind of got a different idea that goes with that as well. And I've looked at this to kind of see, I love the things that you can trust, but I got a question for you. And these might be a little bit shocking to you, but what is it you can't trust? Trust is a very important thing, but I'm thinking more importantly, what can't you trust? So I got a couple ideas here. I put together a little bit of a list, but what can't you trust? First of all, you can't trust pigeons. They're always attempting a coup. You can't trust kitchen remodelers because what they do is counterfeit. Stairs or elevators, you can't trust them because they're always up to something. You can't trust trees because they're shady. You can't trust left-handers because something's just not right. You can't trust people who sketch subjects for police because they are con artists. You can't trust marine biologists because they're super fishy. So as you go through, these are some of the different ideas that you can't trust. Anyway, there's some of your dad jokes for you who want to maybe use those with kids and grandkids. Those are kind of fun. You're welcome. I know I get lots of thank yous for those jokes as we go through, but I'd like to open that up a little bit as well. And I think some of the things that we see really going on are the different roles that you may have. How are you trusted? Who are you trusting? Those are very important. But here's an exercise that I just did. And let's talk about this. So trust starts with yourself. Can you trust yourself? So with myself, I mean, like, for instance, there's cake over there on the counter. Can I trust myself not to eat it when I'm having a diet, right? Many of you go, not a chance, right? But some of you can. So trust really starts with yourself and then it moves out. So what I looked at is if trust and really all the betterment that I want to give starts with myself, here's what's interesting. Doing better for others starts with, I think if you look at it, maybe a good illustration is, remember on the airplane when they say, put your own oxygen mask on first? Well, it's kind of the same when you're talking about trust and maybe betterment. So I want to do this. I put together a list. This may help some of you, but I put together a list that says, I'm better when I. So I don't really like to-do lists. It feels more obligation, but I like I'm better when I list. This is a more permanent list. This is something that will help you inspire yourself rather than just motivate yourself. But for instance, I'm better when I read the Bible. I'm better when I work out every morning. I'm better when I get enough sleep. I'm better when I eat healthy. I'm better when I express gratitude. I'm better when I'm thinking of others over myself. The list goes on, but what I found is the best thing that I can do is put together, I'm a better, so I'm better when I list. So for yourself, I want to do this. Now, here's what's very interesting. Please do that exercise. You don't have to take a moment now. Please do it when you're done. Grab your trusty Gentian pen and journal. You can put that together. But I've got 2 words at the end of it that will change it. It's called so that. I'm better when I express gratitude so that I'm happier and treat other people better, so that I can be a better father, so I can be a better community member, so I can be better when I'm meeting you. Those 2 words change the deep meaning of what we're talking about. It's called so that. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just put a I'm better when I list. And at the very end, put so that. Reason I'm doing this is we've talked about purpose. We've talked about people reaching retirement and thinking that's a finish line. Your purpose doesn't stop when you start working at, retirement, if you will, when you start working with us. It actually just changes. So in some of the workshops we're going to be doing one on purpose, just redefining or rediscovering or clarifying and strengthening your purpose. It'll be a multifaceted workshop, but what I want to do is I've noticed that who we are becomes extremely important. And sometimes when the title changes, our self-worth changes, and that doesn't have to happen. So this is an important one. This is a basic, let's call it exercise. We'll probably repeat it in the program as well, but I'm better when I, and so that. Those are 2 very, very important pieces to this. And it's in that part of the discovery and strengthening of your clarity and identity. So thank you for this portion and in going through. I wanted to really give you this as a little piece that I've done for myself, and it really helps inspire myself. Remember, inspiration lasts a lifetime. Motivation is like vitamins. You need them every single day. So with that, what I'd like to do is Ken's Corner with 2 Ks. Ken's Corner is coming up here. Love it, Kenny. This is your chance. I appreciate it when you come out and shine. So Ken Corner, what do you got for us today?
All right, Ken's Corner. I like that one. That's really good. So here I got 3 of them today: Social Security, inherited IRAs, and talking about funding projects. I get this question quite a bit. We get this question quite a bit, and there's a couple different ways to think about it, and just wanted to bring those options up to you. And that's going to be the 3rd point today. So number 1 is Social Security. I get emails directly from the director saying, hey, by the way, we're opening up for in-person meetings back in-person meetings. They used to be on the phone or online with their website, but now they're back in person as well. And because of that, because it was only on the phone or online, Some people wanted to enroll or disenroll in part A and B, maybe didn't have a chance or was delayed in something like that. They're actually extending that to the end of December of 2022. So a little factoid about Social Security. Not that that's a very common thing, but if you move out of the country for whatever reason, we have a client I know who wants to move to Spain in retirement, and you actually disenroll in Medicare because you're out of the country, and Spain has a different healthcare system. So that's one example of what that would look like. Well, also we have partners and direct contacts at Social Security. So if you have questions that are on your mind about your scenario, or when we're talking through your scenario together, by all means, we can reach out together and have a nice conversation with a person one-on-one who's an expert and really can get us the decisions and options that we really need to make there. So that's Social Security. Number two is, Chris, I'm going to bring this one back full circle with you. I am better when I attend the Ed Slot Mastery Elite Advisor Program so that I can bring our clients riveting tax laws.
Nice. Yes, Ken and I have a wonderful time with riveting tax laws, and spending times debating those at night right after the program. We spend hours poring over those.
Exactly. I'm like, why are you texting me at 10:30, right? So anyway, so really what it is, I'm just going to give you the highlight of it, but inherited IRAs, the IRS kind of switched gears and kind of threw us a curveball with some of them. So when it pertains to you, we'll let you know in the meetings as far as how it works. But basically, there's 3 decision points we need to make. We need to figure out when the person that you inherited the IRA from passed away. That's a very important piece to it all. We need to figure out whether they were under the rules of 70.5 distributions or 72. That's step 2. And step 3 is basically that will help us determine whether the 10-year rule now in IRA payouts exist, or if we need to take annual amounts throughout the 10 years. So that's the new asterisk to it all, is do we need to take annual amounts for the 10 years rather than just let it go for the 10 years. So that's new in the inherited IRA world. So that I wanted to bring that to your attention. We will let you know if that is you. Number 3 is funding projects, home remodels, RVs, cars, things that are planned for us, things that sometimes when you're out shopping and you go to the boat show, next thing you know, you call us a day later and say, hey, we bought a boat. And so then we have to figure out how to finance it. So there's really a couple options, and a lot of people want to just, take money out of their investment account, one big chunk. And that sometimes is the right answer. But there's also, home equity lines of credit that are very favorable as far as interest rates go. There's also loans that we could take a look at as well. Great credit scores often tend to have lower loan payments. Then we have to figure out, okay, how we're gonna get the HELOC paid off, or how are we gonna get the loan paid off. And instead of taking big chunks out of investment accounts, what we can do is we can set up like a monthly distribution almost if we need to fund it through your investments. Instead of taking a big chunk out, we set up a monthly payment that will help satisfy those repayments. So again, every situation is different, but those are a lot of the questions I do get is how do we best finance this and how do we best pay for it? And there's 3 or 4 different options that we can take a look at rather than just leaning towards one all the time. I think if we kick those options around, we'll come up with the best solution together. So those are the 3 things that I had today. I'll pass it back over to Chris.
Thank you for Ken. Ken's corner is awesome. We appreciate that as well. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go to Mike's Minute here as well. Mike's Minute is just kind of an idea of what's going on with some of our wholesalers, the people that we work with, investment managers. So we keep track of them. We keep track of what they're doing. We're introduced to others. We ferret them out and realize maybe they're not for us as well. But Mike's got a couple of ideas here with Mike's Minute. I'd like him to share if he's on here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. It's good to be back. We've been getting some really good questions from our clients regarding kind of the comparison of performance to some of our funds or funds that they own to the indexes that they're compared to. And these are great opportunities for us to collaborate with our partners and with you to kind of discuss these different topics and why we own what we do. So something that's interesting that always comes up is that we have to remember that indexes are passively managed. And an actively managed mutual fund, there's certain rules and restrictions within it that keeps it so that it stays diversified and doesn't allow it to take on too much risk. And because of that, sometimes it cannot keep up with an index because certain indexes hold certain funds, or I'm sorry, not funds, companies that their stock prices have run up. And so a great example of that is the Russell 3000 Growth Index. That index has 46% of its holdings, or 46% of the index is in its top 10 holdings. Now that's 10 holdings out of 3,000. So that number alone just creates a lot of risk, because when one of those 10 companies doesn't do well, then the entire index itself doesn't. And so when mega caps, and when in that growth index, we're talking about like the Googles, Amazons, Facebooks, things like that, that have really, really run up, active management doesn't keep up, because they know that staying diversified is the key to doing well long term. So those comparisons are wonderful. We love talking to them, or talking about them with you. So if you ever have any questions regarding any of that, we're happy to address them. But it's just something to always keep in mind, that sometimes these indexes get extremely overweight in certain areas. And then when those companies continue to do well, yeah, the index does well, but it opens you up to a significant downside if something goes in the wrong direction. So thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Thank you for Mike's minute. We appreciate that as well. One thing you'll find is that Mike was really trying to talk about mean covariance optimization as well, optimizing your portfolio exactly where it should be on a risk scale. He just didn't want to say it because it takes like the Nobel Prize of time to explain it. So thanks, Mike. I know you really are. You and Ryan and the team spent a lot of time talking with these managers. So thank you for those updates as well. Remember, when you're looking at an index is simply going to be one of 13 different categories of what you own. Right now, what's cool is you have a fund that's up 24%. And I'm going to let one of our team members, most likely, who's going to be Zach's Facts. I love these sections. It's not really facts. Sometimes it's Zach's opinion, but I'm going to call it Zach's Facts because it sounds better. I'm going to bring him on right now. And then I'm going to close with some very important portion that I normally start with as well. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Zach's Facts.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. We'll go briefly through the indexes like we normally do on the equity side, kind of touch base on fixed income as they kind of raised rates over the last month or two, and then just a few facts that we found as well since the last webinar. So to go along with Zach's Facts, have to bring in some of those facts for Chris, right? So for the 2022 year-to-date returns, we're about 2 or 3% better in each of the indexes I'm about to go through from about a month ago. But from the last 2 weeks, the S&P for the year is 7.74% temporarily down, which is 5% in the last 2 weeks, 5% off in the last 2 weeks. The Dow Jones, 5.83% to start the year, -3 in the last 2 weeks. The NASDAQ, which is almost 50% technology, is still about 14.53% temporarily down to start the year, and 8% in the last 2 weeks. So we've seen a lot of the volatility recently. The Russell 2000, which Mike mentioned the 3000, but the 2000 is small size companies, is 11.51% temporarily down to start the year, 6% off in the last 2 weeks. The growth portion and value portion, if you guys remember, we always kind of talk about the disparity between the two and why we own both and continue to rebalance. But the growth portion of small size companies, 16.71% down to start the year and 9% in the last 2 weeks. Value, 6.28% down to start the year, 6% in the last 2 weeks. International, 8.89% and 3% in the last 2 weeks. And the least mover for the first time in about a year and a half, 2 years, emerging markets, 9.23% for the year, but only 1% in the last 2 weeks. And in the last day or two, actually positive when other indexes were temporarily down. Just real quick on the fixed income side of things, if we're looking at the Treasury and their current yield, the 1 year is 1.84%, or about a 0.7 increase in the last 2 months. The 3 year, 2.73%, which is about a 1% increase in the last 2 months. The 5 year, 2.76, about a 0.6% increase in the last 2 months. And the 10 year, 2.71, about a 0.5% increase in the last 2 months. Just for these quick facts to bring you guys, we always want to bring perspective, and these are some of the things that you may not have seen or heard on the news. If you're still watching those, I know we mentioned that too. But according to Raymond James, the corporate earnings hit for a triple crown in 2021. The S&P achieved 30% earnings growth in 4 consecutive quarters for the first time since the third quarter of 2010, coming out of the great financial crisis. Companies beat earnings per share estimates by 10% for 6 straight quarters now, which is the longest streak on record, and margins rose to a record high. Jobless claims fell to 166,000, which is the lowest since the Labor Department started collecting the data since 1967. So it's really amazing to see the recovery from out of the COVID pandemic from March of 2020. Something that's really interesting, we've heard a lot about refinancing and people buying homes within the last few years. The 30-year mortgage rate rose to 4.72%, 1.5% up since the start of the year. I also heard on the radio today, yes, I'm a millennial and still listen to the radio. I don't know if that tells you anything, but airline prices also hit the highest that they've ever been. So if you're looking to take a trip, just be wary of that, or just know that to expect that. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you for Zach's facts. We totally appreciate that. Before I get into something more serious, which you probably all got here for, I got to give you a couple of Easter jokes because they just crack me up like an Easter egg. So I got to ask you a question. You know, when does Christmas come before Easter? In the dictionary. Also, I think this is a good one for kids. What kind of jewelry does the Easter Bunny wear? 14 karat gold. How about this one? What's the best way to make Easter easier? Put an eye where the T is. So I love that one as well. What happened when the Easter Bunny was misbehaving at school? He was expelled. I got a bunch of these, so I'll keep going. No, I'm just joking. I wanted to give you a few of those because I know it's coming up on Easter and it's kind of a fun one as well. So I think those are super good. But what I want to do is let me go back to the serious side of the equation here. So I want to give you something that's called RIP, rest in peace. RIP right now is when you're looking at preparing for the unforeseen future. Everybody talks about the foreseeable future, but here at Gentian, we want to help prepare you for what's real. And that's the unforeseen future. Since what's going to happen tomorrow, even the next few minutes, is completely unknown. When people make predictions, they're simple guesses. So preparing you for a time where things are very unforeseeable and being honest about it is what we want to do. In that nature, I would look at this and say, there's a bunch of things going on right now, and there's a lot of people predicting what are going to happen with them. Right now, rest in RIP means recession, inflation, and Putin, right? Three things that are really menacing to us right now. Zach mentioned a few. Rates are going up. Gas prices. I mean, when you look at inflation, it's not just what inflation, that's a term. It's the fact that when you pay 50% more for, some sort of other vegetables or meat that you eat as well, those are what are real. So we see those are coming. And what I've heard a lot of people say is, hey, a recession is coming. And here's my standard answer. Whenever anybody says a recession or a correction is coming, I say, you're right. The difference between us is I know that I don't know when. And the key is we're prepared for whatever happens, even though we don't know what it'll be. But I guarantee in our relationship and in your future, there are recessions and there are corrections coming. Corrections like this in the market. And our three terms, FPD, faith, patience, and discipline, are what get us through. Faith in the future, that history will repeat itself and the markets will recover. Patience to get through them when you're in them. And the discipline to stick true to your plan. This is what faith, patience, and discipline mean. This is what it is we've used for many of our retirees, one of who was retired with us 25 years. I just had a meeting with him yesterday. And we talked about that. What's gotten us through the three major corrections and had us thrive all the way through them and given all this money away and this income. It's been the faith, patience, and discipline to make it through times like these. Because times like these will happen time and time again. So I wanted to give you that. That's fairly serious, but I love the idea of preparing for the unforeseen future. It's really an important piece. It's what we look to do here. Don't get us wrong. I don't often talk about it, or I had a client walk in the other day. He goes, oh no, I don't watch the TV anymore. But when I'm at the gym, they have CNN and Fox News up. So when I'm there for half an hour, I basically see one over here has a president with, devil's ears on. The other one has a president over here with a halo, and they're fighting it out the whole time. I thought that was hilarious, by the way. That's exactly what he said. So he said he wasn't listening to the news, but he came in and said, hey, we're heading into recession. We know that's going to happen. We know that this is going to happen. I go, what? So I'm sorry. Have you been watching TV again? I asked. He goes, No. And then he told me the story about the gym. So it is pretty interesting to watch. You know, the TV and the media can inform you, but you got to be very careful with that. Try not to eat too much. It's like eating too much dessert. Too much of it is really not good for you. Too much of positive things actually is good for you. So if you were to overindulge on something, overindulge on the positive. Overindulge on hanging out with the grandkids. Overindulge on maybe taking an extra long walk. Drinking more water. Those are the things you can indulge in. That leads me right back to my list. I'm better when I see you guys in person, see you on Zoom, listen to what you're going through and things that we need to answer and things we need to focus on. I know that I'm better when I get to share what I did with my team. I'm in a group called Thrivers, and we came back very, very inspired. I like to simplify things. It's what I do in my business, but it's also who I am. So it's really interesting. When I returned from this Convergence, I said, one of the biggest things that I want to do is I want to have people be better off because I lived. So my contribution to you is any way that we possibly can. We have plan it, live it, and give it here at Gentian. That's the Gentian retirement. Plan it is all the technical things we talk about you might think of when you think of a financial advisor. Live it is more the advisor that's along with you during the journey. Live it, I'm going to contend, is much more important because I've learned over time money is simply a resource to support everything that's important to you. And you share that with us. And that's the why you come to see us. So the live it side of the equation is attending a funeral, celebrating with you when you have a sickness, also being there along with you to champion you in recovering. And then the give it side of the equation is giving it to your kids while living, giving money to places that you think need it, charities, giving money at the end to the appropriate places as well as you see fit. So when I really look at this, a complete life is a plan it, live it, and give it, and retirement is not the finish line. I look forward to, in the future, helping you, making sure that your purpose has clarity, you understand what it is, or you rediscover it if you have kind of forgotten what it is. So as we go forward, I really appreciate that. What I really want to reflect back once again on, there's a lot going on right now. Let's celebrate. It's springtime here in the Northern Hemisphere. I guess I call it the Northern States, if you will. We're seeing flowers come out. It's a wonderful time of year. We're seeing allergies come out. Maybe not wonderful, but what I'd like to do is, with the very, very important aspect of how our program ends here, I'd like to talk about the most important things you should pay attention to here at Gentian over the next couple of weeks with a great team member of ours, Angela Zilka, who you might have seen on TV recently this weekend on WWF. So we saw a picture of her. She was in line there. We saw her on TV. Anyway, Angie, what's going on?
Thank you, Chris. Yes, so I was at a WWE event. I was not participating, but I was a spectator. So I'll just clarify that really quick. Just a couple reminders here. Make sure that you are checking your emails, especially on Mondays. We do have the weekly bulletin that goes out. Last week, Monday, there was a great piece on your retirement and the Secure Act. So please make sure that you go back and check that out. There's a wealth of information in there. As a reminder, today our office will have limited availability as our team focuses on our professional and personal development. So please be aware of that. We will return emails and phone calls after we wrap up. So just keep in mind, we may have limited availability if you are trying to reach us today. This Friday, the markets and our office will be closed in observance of Good Friday, so also keep that in mind. Next Wednesday is our April birthday club. So if you have a birthday in April, please join us. We would love to celebrate you. We have coffee, cake, conversation. It's a really great, fun afternoon. Join us for lunch and celebrate you. Next bi-weekly update will be Wednesday, April 27th. So please join us. And also, we are looking forward to seeing you in person for our spring forums. We do have a change of venue in Appleton, so please pay attention to that. This year it will be at Butamore Country Club, and that's going to be on Tuesday, May 3rd. Wednesday, May 4th, we will have it here local in Wauwatosa at the Blue Mound Country Club. Space is limited, so if you if you do plan on attending, please make sure you RSVP. You can do that directly from the bulletin that is sent out on Mondays, or feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. We'll get you on that list. We really look forward to seeing you guys during one of those gatherings. And we just want to wish you, from our Gentian family to your family, a very happy Easter, whether that is something that you celebrate or not. Hopefully you get together with your family and celebrate what you do, celebrate and gather together and celebrate this spring weather coming.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. I celebrate celebrating. How about that? I appreciate that. So a couple of things I want to end with here. Again, a reminder, looking at the unforeseeable future, preparing for it is one of the most important things we can do, and it's a mindset. There's a lot of ambiguity in that as well. I want to end with a couple of quotes as well. It's pretty interesting when you look at this. But I think one of the first quotes is from Nelson Mandela. Remember, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for your enemies to die. Be careful of keeping that in. Work on it. Let it go. Second, generosity is not a one-time act. It is a way of living. Very important as you look at that. Live generously. Enjoy, forgive, offer mercy in this time. A lot of people are out there hurting. You're seeing a lot of things happening out there where you can see that. There's a lot of stuff going on with some controlled substances and all as well. But again, let's look for mercy and love. It always does pass through. With all of you today, I want to thank you for being clients here at Gentian. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for letting us go a few minutes over. I really want to express my gratitude to the team. We're going to spend a couple of hours now getting better for you. I got to tell you, this is some of the most important things we do to serve you better. So this next few hours, we're going to batten down the hatches and really work on some of the important things we can that will help your experience with us. So with that, I want to say faith, patience, and discipline to you, but more important, celebrate during this season. With that, have a wonderful Easter.